back to Restore Thrive. Flying solo today, we are talking about problems on the bike. Specifically, if you are cycling on a regular basis and you're down in the bike position and you have to stand up because your back is starting to feel like it's pumping out, getting filled with blood or stiffening up, or if you're in the middle of a triathlon, you get off the bike, you go to run and you're like, oh my back, or oh my hip. What we see a lot of times with this is that a lack of range of motion in the back of the hip limits your options in terms of setup on the bike and leads to a lot of overload through the back. And so the story behind this is that if we don't have full hip range of motion, if I can't get my knee over the crease of my hip to about 120 degrees, what happens is I have to compensate with my back and these hip flexor muscles. People know these as the iliopsoas, the psoas, the iliacus. It's a group of muscles through the front of the hip that also attaches on the front of your spine. And when those muscles have to do more than help power the hip, when they have to try to stabilize the back because we're missing range of motion here, we start getting this interplay or this movement with each pedal stroke coming up and through that pedal stroke, and that's what leads to an overload of the back. So instead of being in that ready riding position as we ride, our back is constantly flexing and then extending, flexing and then extending as that leg goes through the cycle stroke. So we're going to go about this in two different ways in terms of restoring normal hip range of motion to allow you to power through your hip and then be stable through your back and offload the back. So the first thing we're going to do is what we call a posterior chain lockout. And what you need for this is a jump stretch band around the front of your hip on the side you want to treat. I'm going to do my right side so you guys can see clearly. I'm going to put my left leg forward, and what I'm going to do from here is bend forward to get my hands on the ground. So this is very similar to when I get in that bike position, especially in a competitive situation. I'm closing my pelvis over my hip. The band is putting that head of the femur in the back of the socket. So now what I'm going to do is try to open up that end range by straightening my knee, squeezing my quad, and then coming off tension by bringing my heel up, letting my knee bend. So I'm just going to lock that out, squeeze it out, try to keep a little bit of tension through my midsection, but I don't have to be perfectly straight through my back. If I'm a little stiff there, but you can see I want to be active as I'm going in and out of this position. This is a great way to get yourself warmed up before you get on the bike because it's active, it's against tension, it's not a passive stretch or mobilization. Now, if you're particularly tight through your hamstring and it just doesn't feel possible to get into that range, what we can do is we can take the hamstring out of the equation, get into a more short lever position where I'm on my knees, and now I'm not creating so much demand through the posterior chain in terms of flexibility, and I can work again in that forward position and work on dropping my hip back, getting that pull from the band. I can scoot out a little bit more with this as well, and we'll really load this up and then just work in and out of this position. And here I can really easily use my upper body to create some different angles of attack through my hip. And it's going to feel different depending on where I'm tight as I'm working around here. But either shape, what I want to do is spend about 2 minutes in that position. And again, because this is an active dynamic warm-up, you're having to hold against the resistance of the band. This is a great way to get your hip warmed up before you get on the bike. We also like this as a cool down. If stiffness through the back of your hip or low back discomfort has been an issue for you in the past when you get off the bike, this is a great way to work downstream to take some pressure off of your back. So give this one a try at home, guys. Let us know what you think. If you have any more questions, you can find us at restorethrive.com.